The dimensional rift crackled with violet energy as two figures tumbled through, landing hard on the dusty ground of rural Montana. Elsa pushed herself up, her scales shimmering beneath her skin before she suppressed them. Beside her, her younger sister Kida groaned, brushing dirt from her long silver hair. "This is humiliating," Kida hissed, her golden eyes flashing with residual fire. "Banished to a primitive world because we accidentally burned down the council hall." "It wasn't an accident," Elsa muttered, checking their "You were showing off." "We were both showing off," Kida corrected. The Council of Draken had been clear, 200 years on Earth, stripped of their full power, living among humans to learn humility. For beings who could level mountains and fly through star systems, it was the ultimate punishment. John Reeves was fixing the fence on his family's ranch when he saw them. Two women walking down the empty highway, completely underdressed for the Montana cold, looking lost and oddly regal. He grabbed his truck keys without thinking twice. "You ladies need a ride," he called out, pulling up beside them. Elsa's first instinct was to refuse, but Kida's stomach growled audibly. They'd been walking for hours, and their reduced forms were frustratingly vulnerable to human needs like hunger and cold. "We would appreciate assistance," Elsa said carefully, studying the human. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes and dirt under his fingernails. Nothing like the pompous nobles of Draken. John drove them to town, making easy conversation that neither sister quite knew how to handle. Where they came from, words were weapons, carefully crafted for political gain. John just talked about weather, about his horses, about the diner that made the best pie in 3 counties. "You're not from around here," he observed with a grin. It wasn't a question. "Another country," Kida lied smoothly. "Very far away." The months that followed were an education in humility that the council could never have anticipated. John helped them find a small house to rent, taught them about human currency and customs, even got them jobs at the local library where Elsa's love of ancient texts could thrive. But it was the small kindnesses that undid them. When Elsa struggled with the concept of small talk, John spent hours teaching her, patient and laughing. When Kida accidentally revealed her superhuman strength by lifting the back of a truck, John covered for her, claiming he'd helped. "You're different," he said one evening. The three of them sitting on his porch watching the sunset. "I don't know how, but I know you are, and I don't care." Elsa felt something crack in her chest, something that had nothing to do with dragonfire, and everything to do with the human heart she'd developed. On Draken, love was strategic, arranged, political. Here, with this simple human who asked nothing but gave everything, it was terrifyingly real. The first sign of trouble came when a bar fight broke out in town. 3 drunk men cornered a young woman in the parking lot. Kida moved before Elsa could stop her, her eyes flashing gold. The men flew backward as if hit by an invisible wall. The woman ran, and John, who'd been walking out of the bar, saw everything. Elsa expected fear, revulsion, demands for explanation. Instead, John walked up to Kida, checked her for injuries, and said quietly, "Let's go home." At the house, they finally told him everything. The dragons of Draken, the council, the punishment, their true nature. Elsa showed him her scales, let her eyes burn with ancient fire. Kida shifted her hands to claws, then back again. John listened to it all, nodded slowly, and then did something completely unexpected. He laughed. "I knew you weren't normal," he said, shaking his head. "I mean, Elsa, you read Sumerian like it's your first language. Kida, you bent a crowbar with your bare hands. But dragons, from another dimension." He grinned. "That's actually kind of awesome. You're not afraid?" Elsa whispered, "Of you too." John reached out, taking her hand. His skin was warm, fragile, impossibly precious. "I've seen how gentle you are with the kids at the library. Elsa, how Kida rescued that cat from the tree last week and cried when it purred. You're not monsters. You're just ... you." The years passed like water. Elsa learned that strength wasn't just in fire and fury, but in patience, in teaching children to read, in holding John's hand during movies. Kida discovered that power was better used protecting than destroying, and that the human who worked at the veterinary clinic, Sarah, looked at her like she hung the stars. They built lives on Earth, real lives. When the 200 years finally ended, the council opened the rift again, expecting to retrieve 2 humbled dragons. Instead, they found 2 women who'd learned what Draken never taught, that true strength lay in vulnerability, that love wasn't weakness, and that humans, despite their fragile forms and brief lives, burned brighter than any dragonfire. "We're staying," Elsa told the council's emissary. Standing beside John on that same Montana highway where this had all begun, "You would give up immortality, your power, your heritage." the emissary asked, shocked. Elsa looked at John, at Kaida holding Sarah's hand, at the town that had become home. She thought of the library, of quiet mornings and loud laughter, of learning that she could be more than just powerful, she could be loved. "We're not giving up anything," she said softly. "We're choosing everything that matters." The emissary returned alone. The rift closed, and two dragons, who'd come to Earth as punishment, stayed for the greatest reward they'd ever known, a life chosen freely, built with their own hands, filled with love that defied dimensions. John kissed Elsa under the Montana stars, and somewhere in the cosmos, the Council of Draken finally learned the lesson they'd meant to teach. Humans had something that transcended power, that outlasted empires, that made even immortal beings willing to trade eternity for a single human lifetime. They called it love, and it was fiercer than any dragonfire. The end.